This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Hello out there, everyone. It is everyone's favorite time of the year. It is prediction time. Training camps are starting all over the NFL, and I, every year, take a moment to let everybody know how the season is going to end as early as July. So we're going to go through division by division, talk about each team, talk about why I have them ranked where I have them ranked. And usually by February, people are either telling me what a complete idiot I am, or I'm usually pretty right. You know, I'm 60% right 100% of the time, or whatever that line is from Anchorman. So let's start going through the divisions, and we're going to go from left to right and go through each division, saving the NFC East for last because I have a lot of commentary about the NFC East. Starting over here with the AFC North, everybody's darling pick in the NFL right now is the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, I have stated on multiple occasions, is the best young quarterback in the league, right behind Patrick Mahomes. They're 1 and 2, and then Josh Allen's probably 3. But the Ravens, resurgent, Lamar Jackson, new contract, Odell Beckham Jr., getting a lot of pieces back, a good draft. They are going to be the upset pick in the North. We're going to go with the Ravens and then the Bengals. The Bengals have a pretty good team. I mean, they have a great quarterback. They have all the tools they need to make another deep playoff run. So I definitely think the Bengals could go back to the AFC Championship game. It's possible. And then the rest of that division, listen, I'm sorry, Steelers fans, years and years of success. You're a mediocre team with a second-year quarterback and a lot of holes to fill. Not sure it's going to work out this year. And then the Browns, well, they're the Browns. So they have a, and I will make the same reference that I made last year, an alleged rapist as their quarterback, who they gave a $200+ million guaranteed contract to, who, I'm sorry, I know he's a good quarterback. I just don't know what people see in him as the savior of the league or the city in Cleveland. It's not going to happen. But those two at the bottom could flip-flop, but it's Cleveland. We're just going to keep picking on Cleveland because they've been bad for so long. Moving over to the AFC South. Okay. We're going to start from the bottom up in this division, okay? The Indianapolis Colts selected Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Guys, I know he was a beast at the Combine. He is going to be going from a beast to a bust. He is a terrible quarterback. He is a poor man's version of Lamar Jackson. He's not as athletic, even though he's very athletic. He's not as athletic as Lamar, and he can't seem to hit water if he fell out of a boat. So, Indy, I'm sorry, you're in trouble this year. It's not going to be the greatest year for you guys. Next on the list is the Texans. I do love, out of all the rookie quarterbacks that were drafted, I think Stroud is going to be the best young quarterback from this class. He's prototypical. He can throw the ball. He has the mobility. He torched the Georgia Bulldogs defense in the semifinal game. Was it last year? So he definitely, in my opinion, is going to start to bring that team up and get them moving in the right direction, but they're still a couple years away. And then as we go up, the Tennessee Titans, listen, they have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is incredible. He can carry your team. They are one of the few teams in the NFL that actually values the running back position, and they need to, because Ryan Tannehill is slightly above average quarterback, but they keep drafting his replacement, but nobody seems to be good enough to take him down in the lineup. So they're gonna hover there because of Derrick Henry if he's healthy. And then at the top, ironically enough, it's quick how the NFL can turn. Few pieces get put together, everything starts to click for Trevor Lawrence, and the Jags are the top team in the South this year. They had a great run last year at the end of the year. They turned it around. They got a playoff win against a very fake pretender Charger team, but we'll get into that in a second in the next division. But the Jags win the South. Now let's go to the AFC West. Listen, guys, until somebody figures out a way to beat Patrick Mahomes, they keep putting teams around him. He keeps winning. He's as talented as a quarterback as I have ever seen in the NFL, and I've been watching it for 40-something years. He has all the tangibles. He can do all the things. He's like a more polished Brett Favre. Brett Favre was the gunslinger. Patrick Mahomes can still do that gunslinging, but he has better touch than Brett Favre. He has a strong arm. He's mobile. He can do all those things. They are going to be tough to beat in that division because I do have a sleeper here in the number 2 spot. I have said time and time again, Russell Wilson, I'll say it again like I said last year, is the most overrated piece of garbage quarterback to play in the NFL in the past 10 years. He won Super Bowls based on his defense and his running game. He's done nothing to listen, can he throw a ball? Yeah. He's done nothing to show anybody that he can actually be the man that carries a team too deep into the postseason. However, he now has a new coach in town that has experience in coaching shorter quarterbacks, i.e. Drew Brees. I do think that Sean Payton in Denver will make a difference, and they can finish ahead of the I keep saying San Diego Chargers, of the LA Chargers, because Justin Herbert, and I've said this, I had this text exchange from a very ornery Patriots fan the other day. Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. He's not $100 million greater of a quarterback than Daniel Jones is, but that's what he makes, $100 million more, $240 or $260 million he just signed the other day. And the team around him, they do not know how to get it done. And part of it, I think, truly, watching them from a distance is a lot of really bad coaching. So I think they're a team that if they were to actually get a coach that knew how to coach them, they would be competing with Kansas City regularly, but they're not. And then lastly is the Las Vegas Raiders. Here's the deal, folks. The Giants traded an often injured, flaky wide receiver to the Kansas City Chiefs and acquired a third-round pick. With that measly third-round pick, the general manager of the New York Giants turned it around and created a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders for Darren Waller. Darren Waller is he's like a step behind Kelsey in Kansas City. The Giants are trying to build something with him there, but they got him from the Raiders. We'll get to the Giants later. They got him from the Raiders, and the Raiders organization, regardless of Jimmy Garoppolo and his relationship with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, he stinks. He's a terrible head coach. He proved it in Denver. He's proving it again in Vegas. He needs to stay with Bill Belichick until Bill Belichick decides to maybe let him run the quarterbacks camp in New England for a couple years. Terrible head coach, good offensive coordinator, terrible head coach. Okay, that's how those 3 divisions are going to finish. Now on to the East. The AFC East is this. Look, I've been saying it for the past 3 years. I still do think the Buffalo Bills are the cream of the East. However, it has gotten a lot tighter, but there are some things that really their quarterback play is better, their receiver play is better, and their defense is still good enough to win that division. But next, I have the New York Jets. Now, listen, guys, the New York Jets are only in the 2 spot. All you Jet fans that want to at me, they're only in the 2 spot because the Dolphins are 1-2 ahead injury away from him being institutionalized, and the Patriots flat out stink. Mac Jones is terrible. He couldn't quarterback his way out of a paper bag. He had the rest of that team around him has faded very, very fast. The Patriots will be lucky to win 6 games this year because the division has finally gotten better than them for the 14 years under great Tom Brady when they beat every other team twice in the division to get their 6 wins to start the season. That's not happening anymore. They're in trouble. Luckily to get 6 wins, the Patriots. Like I said, Tua and the Dolphins, they have talented players at talented positions, but Tua literally is 1 hit away from it all being over. And now on to the Jets. I have them second. Guys, look, I know everybody's all excited about Aaron Rodgers. Here's the thing that worries me about Aaron Rodgers. Is he great? Yes. Is he one of the greatest ever? Yes. Aaron Rodgers has played with his thin skin in Green Bay, Wisconsin for his entire career. Every time someone gives him a little heat, he can kind of bully the media in Green Bay. He has 2 bad games in New York. He is going to find out real fast what it's like to be in the spotlight. And I just don't think he has it in him. Not because he doesn't have the ability to handle it. I just think he's mentally checked out. He's in New York for a money grab to finish up his career, get some money and get endorsements. I don't think he's really there to help that team win. Now, if he is there and invested, that team could go a long way. They have a ton of pieces around the rest of the franchise. Zach Wilson was the mom slayer. He wasn't really the quarterback slayer. So they went in and got an upgrade and brought him in. So they definitely, it's possible they could win that division, but I still think the Bills are ahead of them there. On to the NFC. There's some new faces in the NFC, and one of the divisions is just flat out awful. So we'll get to all this here, starting in the NFC North with the surprise team, everybody's darling team. I was talking about it last year, but the Detroit Lions, everybody made fun of Dan Campbell when he went off on this ridiculous hire speech that he made and all this other stuff. Coached well in the Dolphins. He was a good tight end for the Giants. He's a tough guy. He's an old school coach. That team played great the second half of the season, and they are going to be the team to beat if Jared Goff can keep it together. If he does that, they have pieces in place. They are going to win the North, followed closely by the Vikings. My knock on the Vikings every year is the same thing. They let Dalvin Cook go because nobody values the running back position. Clearly, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with that. Could be a whole other podcast. But the Vikings go as Kirk Cousins goes. He showed you last year in the playoffs the kind of guy he is. One of my best friends is a Vikings fan, and we've had this conversation time and time again. Kirk Cousins will thread the needle in triple coverage from 40 yards out on the one play, and the next play he'll throw the ball 14 yards short into the ground or a pick six or whatever it is. He's super inconsistent. He was that way in Washington. He's been that way in Minnesota. They will not go anywhere far with Kirk Cousins as quarterback. And then the rest of that division, listen, Justin Fields is definitely improving. The Bears defense, what nobody's talking about is they have lost a step by getting rid of Roquan Smith and getting, Tremaine Edmonds from the Bills. That's a downgrade. Their defense isn't as good as it was, and it wasn't that great to begin with last year. Smith was the only bright spot. And Justin Fields, while he finished the year strong last year, not exactly all-pro status just yet. Now, can he be good? I think he could be, but I think we're a couple years away on that. And they only finish in third because Green Bay is terrible. I love how everybody last year ripped the Green Bay receivers. It was all the Green Bay receivers' fault. And Aaron Rodgers, blah, blah, blah. He's so great, and the receivers are so terrible. Well, now they have Jordan Love, who is so not prepared to be a quarterback in the NFL, with another set of inexperienced receivers that are a year older and not all that much better. Aaron Rodgers makes those receivers look better at the end of last year. Jordan Love is not going to do that. Green Bay is another one. Them and the Patriots going to be lucky to get 6 wins. Okay, on to probably the worst division in all of football. Sorry, Bucs fans. The Bucs are terrible. I don't care what you tell me that they're retooling, they're not rebuilding, they're a bad team. So we'll start from the bottom up. These two teams at the bottom could go either way. Actually, let me rephrase this. This whole entire division could finish in any order. They're all terrible. They might win the division with 7 wins in this division, okay? The Saints have Derek Carr. They might be better. They're better than having Jameis Winston. I mean, I don't know if that's a big upgrade. They might be a little bit better with him. Still terrible coaching in New Orleans. Carolina, I do like, and God, I don't know why I can't think of his name. The Heisman Trophy winner. God, I can't think of his name, from Alabama. I don't think he's going to be that great of a quarterback. I think he's a good leader. He's got talent, but I'm not sold on all these short quarterbacks. Everybody was so happy with him for a couple years when Drew Brees was doing his thing and Russell Wilson was doing his thing with the defense. We've already established that. But Kyler Murray's been terrible. Justin Fields hasn't been great. I don't have faith that the Carolina Panthers, their defense might be better, but their offense is going to score 12 points a game. And then, like I said, the Bucs and the Falcons, they're both just terrible. They don't have anything. The Falcons are, I think it's a second or third year second year wide receiver, Rudder out of Louisville or something like that. The team just isn't a team that's going to go anywhere, not just in the playoffs. Maybe the division, it'll be mumbled up, but none of those teams, you can just actually drop them off this board. Okay. On to the NFC West. We'll start from the bottom up. As aforementioned, Kyler Murray, he's terrible. Like, who gives a kid a contract and tells him he has to study his playbook? Unprofessional, unprepared. I know it sounds silly, non-prototypical, but he can barely see over his offensive line. Does he make some crazy good plays? Sure he does. They're not going anywhere. The Rams, the next team up, the Rams and the Seahawks could be a wash either way between one of those two teams. I don't think Geno Smith is going to play the way he played last year, but the Seahawks seem to always kind of retool and find guys. And the Rams had mortgaged their entire future for years to get that one Super Bowl. Is Sean McVay a good coach? Could his coaching get them to the second spot in that division? Possible, but Pete Carroll's okay too. So those two can go either way. It's not going to matter because the 49ers are the cream of the crop in that division. Even with Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback, they are still the team to beat. Christian McCaffrey is the last running back to ever get paid in the NFL. And there is, a whole bunch of dynamic players on that team with Samuel, and their defense is solid. So they're going to win the West, and they could be, in my opinion, the front runner to win the NFC this year. But we're on to the NFC East. This is always a contentious category for me because it's my team's home division. As you can see, you can't see New York Giants. All my New York Giants stuff, they're 4 Super Bowl coins right there. I have to concede and admit the Philadelphia Eagles have a squad. I mean, they just do. But what I will tell you, all you Eagles fans that are watching this podcast, is this. The Eagles only go as far as their offensive line allows them to go, okay? Jalen Hurts, he falls into that same category with all the rest of these guys, okay? He's a good quarterback, but he's not Joe Burrow. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. He's not that guy. He goes because he has Lance Johnson and Kelsey, the other Kelsey, okay? Not Travis Kelsey, the other Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, okay? So that Eagles offensive line is the thing that drives that team to the Super Bowl last year, drives them to win the division again this year, and their defense is just as good on the other side. They did lose guys in the offseason and free agency. However, they did retool, so they are definitely still the team to beat in the East. I'm hoping the Giants can split with them, but I don't know about that. The next team I have is the New York Giants. I'm going to save them for last because I know them better than any other team and tell you why I have them second. The team at the bottom is the Washington Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them. New ownership, changes are coming. They have a great wide receiving core. Not sure I have a lot of faith in their quarterback, or their defense is good. It's solid, but they have a guy by the name of Chase Young who was so heralded coming out of Ohio State, and he's been a dud. Injured, hurt, doesn't play. He's kind of like the Jadeveon Clowney of this group, okay? I don't see them necessarily going anywhere, but again, 2, 3, 4 in this division could shuffle in any way, shape, or form. So I have the Commanders/Redskins last. Next up, I have the Cowboys. Listen, I know a bunch of Cowboy fans. They're everywhere. You can kick a rock and 5 Cowboy fans run out from under it. Here's the thing about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry. I've said it from day one. One of my best friends, his brother, wouldn't shut up about Dak Prescott, what a steal he was in the 4th round, and he's going to take him to the promised land, and blah, 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 blah. Dak Prescott took over for Tony Romo behind probably one of the best offensive lines football has seen in 25 years, and he had Ezekiel Elliott running the ball, and he had Dez Bryant catching the ball. Once the pieces started to go away, you got to see Dak Prescott, the real Dak Prescott last year. Turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, bad field vision, terrible clock management, not even knowing the rules of the game to finish game. I mean, he's below average quarterback on a team that spends a lot of money trying to win, and they are, again, not going to win. The safest bet in all of football every year, folks, is betting on the Cowboys not to win the Super Bowl. It's guaranteed money because as long as Jerry Jones is running that organization, they will never win another Super Bowl until he kicks the bucket or keeps getting enough plastic surgery to keep himself propped up in that box every Sunday. And then on lastly to my Giants. I have them in second, okay? Everybody all summer has been up in arms about Saquon's contract and how come Daniel Jones got all this money and he's not worth this money and that money and this and blah, 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 blah. Guys, I watched every game for the Giants last year. Saquon Barkley did carry the team in the beginning of the year for sure. He slowed down in the middle of the year, and Daniel Jones carried the Giants the rest of the season with his legs, with his arms, with his smart decision-making, okay? And he did it literally behind a JV offensive line that was patched together with a rookie just figuring stuff out, a center that was 100 years old, 2 guards they picked up at a bus stop, and an all-pro left tackle. His offensive line is better. His weapons are better. The aforementioned Darren Waller, Paris Campbell, Jalen Hyatt. He has speed. He has all sorts of versatility around him that he didn't have, and he's never had in 4 years as the quarterback of the New York Giants. Every year a different offensive coordinator, every year a different scheme, every year patchwork offensive line and weapons. This will be the first year he spends 2 back-to-back years in a system with weapons. Daniel Jones is going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. With Saquon back, the team is rounded out on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, the number 1 draft pick, the cornerback out of Maryland, Deonte Banks, he's going to be a plug-and-play starter. He's not going to be Sauce Gardner, but he's going to be a good opposite corner to Adoree Jackson. The pass rush is going to be better. A second year of Kayvon Thibodeau, now that we've watched film on him and seen how many times he was held all season last year, the defensive line is going to be better. Dexter Lawrence is going to be better because he doesn't have to play every snap and get worn out when he's getting run over, when the team's getting run over every time he has to come out. The team has filled out in a lot of key positions, and the talent level is much higher than it was last year. Now, do they play a tougher schedule? They do, but the team itself, the coaching, like I talked about the Chargers' terrible coaching. If Brian Daboll went to the Chargers, they would be competing with Kansas City every year. The coaching makes a huge difference in the NFL. All these guys are pros. All these guys are in shape. Coaching makes a difference, and the Giants have the advantage in that division over Mike McCarthy. Yeah. Over Ron Rivera. Absolutely. And over Nick Sirianni. Everything I default to the Eagles is about their offensive line. Best coach in the division with a lot of talent coming up. Guys, listen, if I'm going to narrow this down and I have to make a pick for the AFC Championship game, I know it's a broken record. I really feel like it's going to be Kansas City and Buffalo, and it's going to be San Francisco and probably Philadelphia again in the title games. And I really think it's going to be San Francisco and Buffalo in the Super Bowl this year. San Francisco's just above and beyond. As long as they get good quarterback play, and with the team around there, Mr. Irrelevant, they should. So, again, 2 years in a row, I'm hoping they don't let me down. I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl over the 49ers. Guys, listen, you don't need to get your Sunday ticket on YouTube TV this year. You could just skip the whole season. I've given you everything you need to know. Go and enjoy. Once this gets posted, you could all tell me how amazing I did or how terrible my takes are. Either way, the sun will rise tomorrow. Go Giants. Go Big Blue. Have a good